Why does the Muslim Brotherhood want to restore the caliphate? What is the caliphate? What's a caliph? And what connection does ISIS have to this? Because there's a man in ISIS who named himself Abu Bakr, who says he's the new caliph. What's it all about? We're going to discuss it on today's program. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance.
Those who forsake the law praise the wicked. Those who uphold the law resist them. Welcome to the Voice of Resistance. Here's your host, Randall Terry.
Welcome, friend. We're going to look at the Muslim Brotherhood again. We're in a 9-part series that we shot a year or two ago, and we're replaying it because it's got value for today's headlines. At the end of this program, I'm going to tell you about a death threat that we have received recently and ask you for your help. And by the way, if you've already heard me say it and you haven't helped us yet, what are you waiting for? I'll be right back. Welcome to today's program, friend. One of our duties, if we are going to accurately investigate any religion, any group, any club, anything, is to allow that group to speak for itself. Or said in a more scholastic way, to study primary sources. Yesterday, I closed the show discussing the fact that Hassan al-Banna, the founder of the Muslim Brotherhood, wrote a tract called Toward the Light. I'm going to read portions of that to you today so that you can understand when I say that the Muslim Brotherhood, if they got their way, would impose Sharia law on the world. It would be the death of free speech, the end of a free press, the end of the freedom of religion. Basically, it would be the total Islamization of every Muslim country and then the entire world, according to Sharia law, complete with the legal penalties for the slightest infraction. They want that. I'm going to show it to you in just a minute. And one other thing that would be of interest to you in today's world. Pew Research recently did a poll, a massive poll involving literally thousands and thousands of Muslims around the world. One thing that they found, for example, was that 99% of Afghani Muslims, Muslims in Afghanistan, want Sharia law. Think about that. Think of the blood and the treasure that we have spent in Iraq and in Afghanistan. And yet, the people of Afghanistan, and many of them in Iraq, want to embrace a legal system that is anathema to freedom. The Muslim Brotherhood has survived almost countless attempts to have it crushed by one Muslim dictatorship after another, but it's the Muslim Brotherhood that's still standing in Egypt, not the Egyptian government, not Musharraf. It's the Muslim Brotherhood that's still standing in Libya, not Muammar Gaddafi. So you better take these people seriously, and you and I had better understand what it is they want. One of the ways we can find out what they want is to study their founder, Hassan al-Banna, and to read some of his words. There are many other theologians in the Muslim Brotherhood that have had an enormous impact for evil in the world. We'll focus on them as well. But I want to first read to you from Toward the Light. He sent this to the king of Egypt, I believe it was Farouk I, and he sent it to the leaders of virtually every Muslim nation at that time. This made him and the Muslim Brotherhood persona non grata, and you're going to see why. But you have to understand, he was maniacal, I would argue perhaps delusional, in his belief of the truth of Islam and its glorious supremacy over every other religion and the duty that all nations have to submit to it. He said, this was his belief about Islam. He said, in other words, Islam aims for high values, combating evil, and a reverence for the ideal while performing any act. It is with these very sentiments that the early Muslims reached the highest level of justice and mercy ever reported of any nation. You understand, he knows the history. He knows the bloodshed. He knows that Abu Bakr had to reconquer the Arabian Peninsula. He knows that Muhammad cut off the heads of people. He knows that Muhammad had a 5-year-old bride. And yet, he's so committed to Islam being from God himself that he is forced to say that it is the highest ideal of justice and mercy. Killing 900 men, chopping their heads off in Medina, like Muhammad did, that was an act of justice. Okay? So when you deal with the Muslim Brotherhood, you're dealing with a group of people that completely embraces, without qualification, every horrific, godless crime ever committed by Muhammad and by his associates. I'm going to take a break. When we come back, I'll read to you a bunch of segments from Toward the Light. It's interesting, people. Don't go away. My wife and I, for 5 years, have been grinding our own wheat and baking our own bread from scratch. Within 2 hours, you can have fresh wheat in your hand and then piping hot bread come out of the oven. The most nutritious and delicious bread you will ever have. And we do it for under $1 a loaf. Call Paula's Bread and find out about this grain mill and the mixer and how it can save you money and change your life. Do you want to have knowledge, wisdom, discernment? If so, you have to read good books on theology, history, books that look at the lives of great men and women. So to help you to become a more effective Christian, a better witness for truth, somebody who can engage in productive conversation that exhorts and edifies those that you speak with, we're going to do something crazy. We're offering you these 7 books for a gift of any size. You just pay for the shipping and handling, and then give whatever gift that you can, and we will send them to you. But just to make it a little bit more crazy, I will send you a second copy of my 3 books, autographed. You can give them as a gift to your pastor or to a family member and help extend truth and justice in the world. This is while supplies last. Welcome back, friend. All right, Hassan al-Banna wrote Toward the Light. It speaks of the glories and the wonders of Islam in science, in healthcare, in the education of children, protection of religious minorities. He actually believed that. It was almost funny to read that. Again, you can find this document online if you want to read it. So he ends the document, and this is where he really gets in trouble with the political players of his age. Some steps toward practical reform. Your Excellency, having given a clear presentation of the spiritual sentiments that should prevail within the nation in its modern renaissance, we would like to point out, by way of conclusion, some of the practical manifestations and results which these sentiments should dictate. He continues, following are the principal goals of reform founded on the spirit of genuine Islam. Please note, he recognizes, as we all should, that there is such a thing as true historic Orthodox Islam, and then there's the phony, okay? The real is seen in the life of Muhammad, in the life of his early companions, and the phony is seen, according to the Islamic construct, the phony is seen in those who do not mimic Muhammad and follow Muhammad's words and obey the Sharia law. So, here we go. Political, judicial, and administrative goals. An end to party rivalry and directing the political forces of the nation into a unified front. Get rid of all party politics and move towards unity, not just in, and you'll see this is not just in Egypt, because he sent this to basically every Muslim nation in the world at that time, but toward reconstructing one ummah, one political body politic. Amending the law such that it conforms to all branches of Islamic legislation. There it is. We want Sharia law back, amending the law so that it conforms to all branches of Islamic legislation, reinforcing the armed forces and increasing the number of youth groups, igniting in them the spirit of Islamic jihad. So here we see it plain and simple. We want to get to kids to teach them to be the mujahideen, the holy warriors of Islam, who are prepared to kill and be killed to extend Islam. Oh, this is where he gets in real trouble. Strengthening the ties between all the Islamic countries, especially the Arab countries, to pave the way for a practical and serious consideration concerning the departed caliphate. He wants to restore the caliph. You have to have one nation to have one caliph. And this was not met with happiness in Saudi Arabia, in Egypt, in various Muslim nations. Here's one that also got him in trouble. Weighing all governmental acts in view of Islamic rules and teachings. National holidays, receptions, official conferences, prisons, and hospitals should all be compatible with the Islamic teachings. Hours of work should be arranged such that they do not conflict with the Salah times, which has to do with Islamic holy days and prayer times. So we have Islamic prisons. So in prison, if you are a Muslim and you convert to Christianity, depending on which part of Sharia law you study, you are beaten for days. If you're a woman, you're beaten again and again and again and again until you renounce your Christianity and come back to the faith. That's how they want prisons to be run. Here's one. To deal with the woman issue in a way which would both elevate her position and provide her protection in accordance with the Islamic teachings, so that this issue, socially the most important, is not left at the mercy of biased pens and unorthodox notions of those who are either deficient or excessive in their opinions. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will finish up reading from Toward the Light and then tell you how Hassan al-Banna met his end. Glory, martyrdom, immortality. He got what he wanted. Do you want to get America out of the hands of wicked and unjust men and women who are destroying the republic before our eyes, and put leadership back into the hands of righteous men and women so that we don't die as a nation? Well, you're talking about social revolution, and there are rules in social revolution. We can look at the victorious social revolutions of the past, such as the end of slavery, the end of child labor, women's voting rights, the end of segregation, and so much more, and learn from their victories. Look at their actions, their images, their rhetoric, their sacrifices, and their final fruit. We will send you this series that originally cost $129, 7 books for students, 1 teacher's guide, if you'll give a gift of any size and just pay for shipping and handling. Take advantage of it today. Welcome back to the program, friend. If you just joined us, we are doing a multi-part series on the Muslim Brotherhood, really in depth. And if you are interested in that, go to our website, voiceofresistance.com, where you will be able to watch this entire series beginning to end. And I promise you, you are learning more, or you will learn more about the Muslim Brotherhood in that series than probably anything that you have seen on television to this date. All right. Let's continue. By the way, I'm reading from Toward the Light, written by Hassan al-Banna and sent to various leaders of the Muslim world after the breakup of the Ottoman Empire. He continues. He wants an end to gambling in all its forms, games, lotteries, racing, and casinos. A campaign against drinking, similar to the one against drugs. Its prohibition and the salvation of the nation from its effects. The prohibition of free mixing between male and female students and to consider privacy between a non-mahram, which is a marriageable man, and a female, a punishable crime. The closure of morally undesirable ballrooms and dance halls, and the prohibition of dancing and other such pastimes. The inspection of cinemas and theaters, and a rigorous selection of play scripts and film rolls. The censorship of songs, and a rigorous selection and inspection of them. The careful selection of lectures, songs, and subjects to be broadcast to the nation. The use of radio broadcasting for the education of the nation in a virtuous and moral way. Due consideration for the claims of the moral censorship and punishment of all who are proved to have infringed any Islamic doctrine or attacked it, such as breaking the fast of Ramadan, willful neglect of prayers, insulting the faith, and similar such matters. Merging the elementary village schools with the mosque, and a thoroughgoing reform of both as regards employees, cleanliness, and overall custodial care, so that the young may be trained in prayer and the older generation in learning. To encourage the memorization of the Quran in all the free elementary schools, making this memorization mandatory for obtaining diplomas in the areas of religion and language. The memorization of at least a part of the Quran should be a must in all schools. To give journalism a proper direction, and to encourage authors and writers to undertake Islamic subjects. He closes out this letter saying, "This is the message of the Muslim Brotherhood. We submit it and place ourselves, our talents, and all we possess in the hands of any committee or government desirous of taking a step forward, hand in hand with an Islamic nation toward progress and advancement. We will answer the call, and we are prepared to sacrifice ourselves." These are excerpts, if you just join me, from Toward the Light, written by the founder of the Muslim Brotherhood. Do you want to know what the Muslim Brotherhood wants? Here it is. The end of a free press, the end of freedom of religion, the punishment of people who criticize Islam. I would be executed if this man had his way for doing this series, showing the truth about Muhammad and about the Muslim Brotherhood. If we do not know our enemy can prevail. One of the reasons, to switch gears, one of the reasons that Winston Churchill had his eye on Hitler was because he read Mein Kampf, the book that Hitler wrote when he was in prison. Churchill knew what Hitler wanted to do because he read the material. He read his speeches. Other people were praising Hitler. Time magazine made him the man of the year. If we're going to understand Islam, if we're going to understand the Muslim Brotherhood, we've got to take them at their word. This is what they want. And you and I had better understand that they are a threat to freedom. When I come back from this break, we'll tell you how Hassan al-Banna died. And then what happened next. How would you like to be able to reach hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of potential customers with your product or your company or your web-based business? Well, you can do that right here on this show. Every single day, we get phone calls or letters or orders online from states all over the country where people are watching this television show. Right now, we are seen in 45 cities at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time every night, and then a rerun again at 12:30 midnight. You can reach them using this show at advertising rates that are so inexpensive, it would blow your mind. So, if you're interested, contact us at the phone number that you see on the screen or the email address, and we can talk about how you can grow your business and help support this show. Welcome back to the program, friend. Well, Hassan al-Banna, writing Toward the Light, all the things that he was doing, creating the special apparatus or the secret apparatus, he was not going to live to be an old man. In 1948, the government of Prime Minister Nakrisha, who was Prime Minister of Egypt, discovered irrefutable evidence of the Muslim Brotherhood's special apparatus, or secret apparatus, as it was also known. It was a paramilitary terrorist wing of the Muslim Brotherhood. The case, the evidence against the Brotherhood was extensive. Including killings, bomb making, large caches of weapons. And the government case said that the Muslim Brotherhood actually intended to overthrow the political order through terrorism, okay? Go figure. Over 30 brothers were arrested, boom. It was also discovered that the Brotherhood was involved in the assassination of Imam Yahya, the leader of Yemen, in February of 1948. So the Egyptian government banned the Muslim Brotherhood. Its assets were seized, more members were arrested, and within 2 weeks, a college veterinary student turned into an assassin for the Muslim Brotherhood. He was dressed as an Egyptian officer, and he walked in and he shot and killed Prime Minister Nakrashi. Most of the nation was enraged. The authorities cracked down even harder. More arrests followed, and while al-Banna, being duplicitous and deceitful, repudiated the assassinations in public and wrote a pamphlet about it, he knew what he was doing. Another member of the Muslim Brotherhood then tried to blow up the building that had all of the evidence, the legal evidence against the Muslim Brotherhood that was in their custody. And then again, al-Banna said, oh, that was horrible, and wrote against this destruction, saying, they are neither brothers nor are they Muslims. Whoa. Now he's repudiating his brothers and saying that they're not even Muslims. Well, this enraged many Brotherhood members and caused Nakrashi's assassin to lose heart. He cracked. He answered questions under interrogation, and he started a string of confessions. He started naming names. Now, Hassan al-Banna's duplicity, his hypocrisy, the public embrace of democracy on one hand and secret use of jihadi terrorism on the other, is a pattern that has repeated itself with the Brotherhood until this day, as we're going to see. Al-Banna's repudiations notwithstanding, the government would not lift the ban on the Muslim Brotherhood. More arrests followed, but ominously, al-Banna was not arrested. He told his associates this meant that the government intended to kill him. He was right. As history shows, Egyptian authorities had him assassinated on February 12, 1949. Al-Banna's assassination granted him immediate martyr status and thereby solidified his iconic place as a guide to all modern Islamic terrorists and Islamic activists. His writings, including Toward the Light, are still published to this day and circulated by the Muslim Brotherhood. I'm out of time. We'll pick up here tomorrow. Hopefully you enjoyed this, friend, or even if you didn't enjoy it, at least hopefully it gave you understanding of what we are facing. And we are facing it. You have to understand that Islam now occupies areas that were once the cradle of Christianity. Paul wrote the book of Galatians. Paul wrote to Ephesus. And the church is all but extinct there. It used to be thriving with Christians, and now it's Muslims, and there's almost no Christianity. Mosques are everywhere, and the churches lie in ruins. We don't want that to happen here. If it happened there, why couldn't it happen here? We've got to understand the threat, and we've got to stand against it. We need your help. We have received a critical, believable death threat recently, and we need to beef up our security, both here at the studio and at our homes. We simply don't have the resources that we need, but we're prepared to keep going forward and declaring the truth. But we're asking our brothers and sisters in Christ to stand with us and help us to do what we can to properly protect and defend ourselves. If you believe in our mission, help us. Go to the phone number on the screen or to the website or write us a letter and give as big a gift as you can today to help us protect ourselves while we declare the truth.